Samuel Wright stepped off the shuttle and onto the gleaming floor of Galactic Council Station Alpha. The massive space station hung like a jewel among the stars, its curved architecture unlike anything built by human hands. As Earth's ambassador, Samuel led a delegation of 5 humans chosen for their expertise in diplomacy, science, and cultural exchange. "Remember, we represent all of humanity today," Samuel said quietly to his team as they walked forward. His heart beat faster beneath his formal blue uniform, but his face remained calm. This was humanity's greatest achievement. First contact with the Galactic Council, a coalition of 17 spacefaring species. Council guards flanked the humans, tall beings with 4 arms and iridescent scales. They carried energy weapons that looked ceremonial but were undoubtedly lethal. The delegation had been briefed on the Morzai guards, but seeing them in person was different from holographic simulations. The central chamber opened before them, a vast circular room with rising tiers of seats occupied by representatives from across the galaxy. Light from an artificial sun bathed everything in a warm glow. Samuel spotted the Xorlian representatives immediately. They commanded the largest section, their gray skin and multiple eye stalks marking them as the dominant species in the council. "Ambassador Wright, welcome," said Councillor Zextral, the Xorlian leader. His voice came through Samuel's translator with a slight delay. "Earth joins us at an auspicious time. The Council has enjoyed 10,000 years of prosperity." Samuel stepped forward to the speaking platform. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we are honored to join this gathering of civilizations. We come in peace, hoping to learn and contribute to galactic knowledge." The council session proceeded with formal introductions and preliminary trade discussions. The humans were shown to luxurious quarters afterward, where they prepared for the next day's negotiations. In their private meeting room, Samuel's science officer, Lisa Keller, frowned at her data tablet. "Something feels off about the Xorlians. They're being too accommodating." "Maybe they're just friendly," suggested Carl Johnson, the cultural attaché. "No," said Lisa. "I've analyzed their body language against our first contact protocols. They're hiding something." Samuel considered this as his communication device chimed. Ambassador Wright speaking. "Sir," came the urgent voice of Captain Mills from Earth's orbital station. "We've detected multiple unidentified vessels approaching Mars Colony and Europa Base. They're not responding to hails." Before Samuel could respond, alarms blared throughout the council station. The door to their quarters slid open, and armed Morzai guards entered. "By order of the Galactic Council, you are detained pending investigation of human aggression," announced the lead guard. "What aggression?" Samuel demanded. "We've done nothing." A screen on the wall activated, showing a Xorlian news broadcast. The images showed Earth ships apparently firing on Xorlian vessels. Samuel knew immediately it was fabricated. The ships shown weren't even of Earth design. "This is false," he protested as the guards surrounded them. Meanwhile, thousands of kilometers away, real Xorlian warships decloaked above Earth's colonies. Their weapons fired without warning, vaporizing defensive installations before ground troops deployed. On Europa Base, Commander Olivia Martinez watched in horror as alien soldiers breached the main dome. "Send the emergency signal," she ordered. "Earth needs to know we're under attack." Back on the council station, Samuel and his team were marched to detention cells. As they passed a viewport, Samuel caught a glimpse of a massive Xorlian battle fleet assembling. This was planned all along, he realized with cold dread. They never intended to welcome us to the galactic community. In the council chamber, Councillor Zextral addressed the assembled representatives. "The human threat has been contained. Their primitive aggression makes them unsuitable for council membership. Their colonies will be placed under Xorlian protection for the good of all civilized species." Only a few representatives looked troubled by this announcement. Most nodded in agreement, having already been convinced by Xorlian propaganda about human danger. As Samuel was locked in his cell, Earth lost contact with 3 major colonies simultaneously. Humanity's first contact with galactic civilization had become a nightmare. Captain Olivia Martinez stood in the wreckage of what had once been Europa Base's main operations center. 3 days had passed since the surprise Xorlian attack. Her uniform was torn and stained with blood, some hers, some belonging to colleagues who hadn't survived. Status report. She called to her second-in-command, Lieutenant Daniel Foster, who was helping a medic tend to injured survivors. "We've secured the Eastern Dome," Daniel replied, his face grim. 27 survivors found. The Xorlians took at least 50 people before retreating. Olivia clenched her jaw. Similar reports had come in from Mars Colony and New Horizon on Titan. The Xorlian forces had struck with precision, destroying military capabilities first, then abducting hundreds of civilians before Earth's defense forces could respond. "Any word from Earth?" she asked. Daniel shook his head. "Communications are still jammed across the solar system. We're on our own." Olivia turned to the makeshift command center they'd established in the ruins. Screens showed the extent of the damage. 3 major colonies devastated, thousands dead, hundreds missing. "They knew exactly where to hit us," she said quietly. This wasn't random. Daniel approached with a data tablet. "Captain, you need to see this." The screen showed images recovered from a damaged Xorlian shuttle they'd managed to capture. The files contained detailed anatomical studies of humans, notes on experimental procedures, and lists of test subjects. "They're experimenting on our people," Daniel said, his voice breaking slightly. "These documents were created months before the attack. They've been planning this." Olivia felt sick as she scrolled through the files. "There's more," she said. "Look at these communications. They reference other council races, the Morzai, the Vril Collective. They knew about this attack. The entire council was in on it. Maybe not all, but enough." Olivia set down the tablet. "We need to get this information back to Earth." A young communications officer approached them. "Captain, we've managed to repair a deep space transmitter. Limited range, but it might reach the Jupiter Defense Network." "Do it," Olivia ordered. While the message was being prepared, Olivia led a team through the captured Xorlian shuttle. The alien technology was advanced, but not incomprehensible. Earth's military had always prided itself on quick adaptation. Now that skill would be put to the ultimate test. "Their weapons systems are primarily plasma-based," noted Technical Sergeant Ben Wilson as he carefully dismantled a Xorlian rifle. "Effective, but the power cells have vulnerabilities we might exploit." Back on Earth, the situation was becoming clear. When all contact with both their colonies and the diplomatic delegation had been lost simultaneously, military leaders had feared the worst. Now, as fragmented messages from the colonies reached them, those fears were confirmed. The United Earth Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from all nations gathered in the underground facility beneath Geneva. "The Xorlians believed they could crush us in one strike," said General Catherine Rogers, addressing the assembled leaders. "They underestimated human resilience." Reports from the few surviving ships that had witnessed the attacks painted a sobering picture. Earth's military technology was decades, perhaps centuries behind the Xorlian forces. Conventional warfare would be suicide. "We cannot match their firepower," the general continued, "but we have other strengths. Our ability to adapt, to think creatively, to fight with determination when all seems lost." As the council debated their response, Daniel Foster made a critical discovery on Europa. Hidden in the Xorlian data was evidence that the aliens had a biological weakness. Their neural systems were highly sensitive to specific electromagnetic frequencies. "It's not much," he told Olivia as they prepared to evacuate the surviving colonists to a hidden location. "But it's something we can use." Olivia looked out at the stars, knowing that somewhere out there, Ambassador Wright and the diplomatic team were likely prisoners, just as some of her people were now test subjects in Xorlian labs. "This isn't over," she promised quietly. "They think they've won, but they have no idea what humans are capable of when pushed too far. For 6 months after the Xorlian attack, Earth appeared to withdraw from galactic affairs. Xorlian intelligence reports to the Galactic Council suggested humans were licking their wounds, struggling to recover from the devastating assault on their colonies. The Council accepted this narrative eagerly, most members relieved that the potential threat had been neutralized so efficiently. They couldn't have been more wrong. Deep beneath the lunar surface, in facilities carved into the rock decades ago as emergency bunkers, Dr. Eleanor Bennett hunched over a disassembled Xorlian neural interface. Around her, 30 of Earth's top scientists worked in focused silence, each tackling different aspects of alien technology captured during the initial attacks. "The neural sensitivity is the key," Eleanor muttered, adjusting her micro-tools to probe the delicate components. "Their brains process information differently than ours. That's both their strength and their weakness." In another section of the facility, engineers were reverse engineering Xorlian shield technology. What had begun as desperate salvage operations had evolved into Earth's most critical research project. Meanwhile, on Earth, industries were quietly being converted. Car factories now produced specialized components for weapon systems. Pharmaceutical companies manufactured tailored biological agents, all done under the guise of reconstruction efforts, hidden from the occasional Xorlian surveillance drones that passed overhead. In her office overlooking the Lunar Research Center, Eleanor received her weekly briefing from Major William Collins. "Our network is established," William reported, his voice low despite the room's security measures. "We have agents on 17 council worlds, including 3 in the Xorlian central government." Eleanor nodded. After the attack, many humans working in space had been stranded on alien worlds. Some had been captured, but others had gone underground, becoming the foundation of Earth's new intelligence network. "Any word from Ambassador Wright?" she asked. "Still imprisoned, but alive. The Xorlians are keeping the diplomatic team as bargaining chips." Eleanor turned to look at the main research floor through her window. "They'll regret that decision. How's Project Nemesis progressing?" William pulled up a secure holographic display. First field tests were successful. The nanites can identify Xorlian neural patterns and disrupt them without affecting other species. Project Nemesis had been Dr. Bennett's brainchild. Microscopic machines programmed to target the specific weakness Lieutenant Foster had discovered in Xorlian neural physiology. Not lethal, but capable of incapacitating their forces without harming innocent bystanders from other species. "And the fleet?" Eleanor asked. "Admiral Garcia reports the first 12 ships are ready. They've incorporated the stealth technology we developed from studying their cloaking systems. The Xorlians won't see us coming." On Neptune's dark side, hidden in the shadows of the ice giant, Admiral Patricia Garcia inspected the newly constructed vessels. They bore little resemblance to traditional Earth ships, their designs influenced by both necessity and the alien technology they'd managed to adapt. "Run the stealth systems check again," she ordered, watching as technicians scurried across the deck of the EDS Vengeance. "We'll only get one chance at surprise." The Earth Defense Ship Vengeance was the flagship of humanity's counterattack fleet. Unlike the massive Xorlian battleships, Earth had opted for smaller, faster vessels equipped with targeted weapons systems designed specifically to exploit alien weaknesses. Back on Earth, in an underground facility beneath the Arizona desert, the final pieces of the plan were coming together. Recovered colonists who had witnessed Xorlian atrocities trained alongside veteran soldiers, preparing for the mission to rescue those still held captive. Lieutenant Ryan Jackson led a group through combat simulations, their movements precise after months of preparation. "Remember," he told his team, "we're not just fighting for revenge. We're fighting for our future among the stars." In her lunar office, Eleanor Bennett looked at the countdown clock on her wall. 3 weeks until humanity's response would shock the Galactic Council. The Xorlians believed they had crushed Earth's spirit. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. "They think we're defeated," she said to herself. They have no idea what's coming. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with the voices of 17 species as representatives debated the human question. 8 months had passed since the Xorlian pacification of Earth and its colonies, and most council members considered the matter settled. The primitive humans have retreated to their homeworld, declared Councillor Zextroll of the Xorlian Empire, his eye stalks swiveling to survey the chamber. Our reconnaissance shows they've abandoned their colonial outposts and ceased all military activities beyond their atmosphere. The Vril representative, a crystalline being that communicated through light pulses, flashed agreement. Their technology was insufficient for true spacefaring status. Perhaps in another century, they might be reconsidered for probationary membership. Only Councillor Nathlar of the Terathi seemed troubled. We have reports of unusual resource movements on Earth. Their industrial output has not decreased despite the loss of their colonies. Rebuilding efforts, dismissed Zextroll with a flick of his upper limb. Nothing more. In the council gallery, a seemingly unremarkable maintenance worker named Jason Gray carefully adjusted an air filtration unit. No one paid attention to the human worker, one of many refugees granted asylum after the attack. None realized he was transmitting every word of the council session directly to Earth via a quantum communication device disguised as a standard tool. Across the station, in the Xorlian military quarter, another human agent named Maria Diaz worked as a cleaner in the command center. While dusting consoles, she memorized defense codes and patrol schedules displayed on screens. The Xorlians barely acknowledged her presence. Humans were considered too primitive to understand advanced technology. Back in the council chamber, discussion turned to the redistribution of Earth's abandoned colonies. The facilities on Europa and Mars are already being converted for Xorlian use, Zextroll announced. We have begun preliminary mining operations on both. And what of the human prisoners? Asked Nathlar. They are being well treated, Zextroll lied smoothly. Those with useful scientific knowledge have been offered positions in our research divisions. In reality, hundreds of captured humans were held in laboratories throughout Xorlian space. Ambassador Wright and his team remained in isolated cells on a military station near the Xorlian homeworld, occasionally trotted out for propaganda broadcasts to show their comfortable confinement. As the council meeting concluded, Jason Gray slipped away to his quarters in the lower levels. There, he used a hidden device to send his daily report. Council remains complacent. Xorlians expanding control over former Earth territories. Defense patterns unchanged. Similar reports flowed in from human agents across council space, waitstaff in alien restaurants, technicians in spaceports, servants in government facilities. The Xorlians had unwittingly surrounded themselves with human eyes and ears, dismissing the threat these primitives might pose. On a Xorlian mining station near Saturn, Science Officer Grexvor reviewed security footage with growing concern. Something is wrong, he told his commander. The humans appear too accepting of their defeat. They are a young species, the commander replied. They recognize superior force when confronted by it. Perhaps, but I studied their history. They don't surrender easily. The commander dismissed these concerns. Their ships were primitive, their weapons ineffective against our shields. What could they possibly do now? In the shadows of Neptune, Admiral Garcia completed final inspections of Earth's new fleet. Unlike Earth's previous bulky vessels, these ships were sleek, incorporating adapted alien technology with human ingenuity. Stealth systems operating at 100% efficiency, reported her technical officer. The Xorlians won't detect us until we're right on top of them. And Project Nemesis? Garcia asked. Dr. Bennett has completed the final calibrations. The nanite delivery systems are ready for deployment across all ships. Admiral Garcia nodded and opened a secure channel to Earth Command. All vessels report ready. Request permission to commence Operation Righteous Thunder. The response came moments later. Permission granted. May God have mercy on them, because we won't. As the fleet prepared to move, Garcia addressed her crew. Remember, Our goal isn't destruction for its own sake. We're fighting for justice, for our captured people, and for humanity's right to exist among the stars. The Xorlian commander of Outpost Zek-7, near the former human colony on Europa, was enjoying his morning meal when alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. He rushed to the command center, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly in confusion. "Report," he demanded. "Unknown vessels approaching from multiple vectors." The sensor officer replied, mandibles clicking in distress. They appeared out of nowhere. No warp signatures, no engine emissions. "Impossible," the commander hissed. "Nothing can bypass our detection grid." On the main screen, 7 sleek ships materialized as if from thin air, their dark hulls absorbing rather than reflecting light. They were unlike any human vessels previously encountered, clearly incorporating alien technology, but with uniquely human design elements. "Open communications," the commander ordered. "Warn them to withdraw or be destroyed." Before the message could be sent, precision weapons fire from the Earth vessels disabled the outpost's main power grid and defense systems. No shots targeted living quarters or life support, only military capabilities. Similar scenes played out simultaneously across the solar system. 6 other Xorlian military installations came under coordinated attack. The Earth Defense Fleet struck with surgical precision, neutralizing threats without unnecessary casualties. Aboard the EDS Vengeance, Admiral Garcia watched tactical displays as reports of successful strikes came in. "Phase 1 complete," her executive officer reported. "All Xorlian military outposts in the solar system have been neutralized." "Casualties?" Garcia asked. "Minimal on both sides. Their troops have been contained but not harmed." Garcia nodded with satisfaction. "Begin Phase 2. Launch rescue teams." Across the system, smaller vessels detached from the Earth ships. One such craft, commanded by Lieutenant Ryan Jackson, approached the former Europa base, where intelligence suggested human prisoners were being held. "Remember," Ryan told his team as they prepared to board, "speed and precision. Our people have suffered enough." His squad deployed from the craft wearing advanced combat suits, another product of Earth's silent preparation. The suits incorporated elements of Xorlian personal shield technology with human ingenuity, making them nearly invisible to alien sensors. The team moved swiftly through the facility, neutralizing Xorlian guards with targeted applications of Project Nemesis, handheld devices that released program nanites into the air. When inhaled by Xorlians, the nanites temporarily disrupted their neural pathways, rendering them unconscious without permanent harm. In a converted research lab, Ryan's team found what they sought: 53 human colonists in containment cells, subjects of Xorlian experimentation. Many were weak and injured, but alive. "Earth sent you?" asked one disbelieving woman as her cell door opened. "We never abandoned you," Ryan assured her. "We just needed time to prepare." Meanwhile, a special operations team led by Major William Collins executed the most critical mission, rescuing Ambassador Wright and the diplomatic team from their prison on the Xorlian military station. Using stolen access codes, William's team infiltrated the station's detention level. When they reached the ambassador's cell, they found Samuel Wright thin but unbowed, his spirit unbroken despite months of captivity. "Took you long enough," Samuel said with a weak smile as the cell door slid open. "Sorry for the delay, sir," William replied. "We had to develop some new technology first." As the rescued prisoners were evacuated to Earth vessels, the final phase of the operation began. Admiral Garcia opened a system-wide communication channel that overrode all Xorlian frequencies. "Attention, Galactic Council," she broadcast. "This is Admiral Patricia Garcia of the Earth Defense Force. We have reclaimed our sovereign territory and rescued our people. The Xorlian forces in our system have been neutralized using targeted technology designed specifically to counter their biology." She paused, letting the implications sink in. "We could have responded with indiscriminate destruction, as was done to us. Instead, We chose precision and restraint. Let this serve as demonstration of both human capability and human mercy. Ambassador Wright will address the Council directly within 24 hours. Any hostile action against our forces will be met with immediate and decisive response. Across Council space, representatives watched in stunned silence as humans demonstrated technological prowess they had believed impossible. The Elforlian councillors were particularly shocked. Their supposedly superior forces had been defeated by a species they had dismissed as primitive. In the council chamber, Councillor Nathlar of the Terathi turned to the Xorlian delegation. "It seems," she said quietly, "that you have awakened something dangerous." The Galactic Council chamber had never been so silent. Representatives from 17 spacefaring civilizations sat frozen in their seats as Ambassador Samuel Wright walked slowly to the central podium. Though visibly thinner from his months in Xorlian captivity, he carried himself with dignity and purpose. Behind him stood Commander Nicole Hernandez in a crisp Earth Defense Force uniform, her hand resting on a holstered weapon. A clear message that this was not a return to passive diplomacy. "Distinguished representatives," Samuel began, his voice steady despite his exhaustion. 8 months ago, Earth extended the hand of friendship to this council. In return, we received unprovoked aggression, the destruction of our colonies, and the imprisonment of our people. The Xorlian delegation shifted uncomfortably. Their senior representative, Councillor Zextrol, attempted to interrupt. "This human speaks falsehoods." "Silence," Samuel commanded with unexpected authority. "You have had your time to speak. Now you will listen." Commander Hernandez stepped forward, activating a holographic display in the center of the chamber. Graphic images appeared. Xorlian troops executing human colonists, laboratories where captured humans were subjected to experiments, communications between Xorlian leaders and other council races planning the attack. "These records were recovered from your own databases," Samuel explained as horrified murmurs spread through the chamber. "They provide irrefutable evidence that the attack on Earth was not only planned by the Xorlian Empire, but known to and approved by many council members." The Vril representative's crystalline form dimmed in what appeared to be shame. The Morze delegation looked away from the images. Only a few species, like the Terathi, seemed genuinely shocked by the revelations. "Earth now demands the following," Samuel continued, displaying a formal document. "First, immediate reparations for the destruction of our colonies and the harm done to our people. Second, trial and punishment of those responsible for war crimes against humans. Third, recognition of Earth's sovereign status and right to self-defense." Councillor Zextrol rose from his seat, eye stalks rigid with anger. "The Council does not take orders from primitives who have shown a lucky moment of strength. The Xorlian Empire will never." A sudden explosion rocked the space station, close enough to be felt but far enough not to cause damage. Warning lights flashed as station sensors detected a precision strike against an unmanned Xorlian military vessel docked nearby. Commander Hernandez activated her communication device. "This is Commander Hernandez. Hold fire unless directly threatened." The demonstration had its intended effect. The council representatives looked at the humans with new understanding. This was not a bluff. "As I was saying," Samuel continued calmly, "Earth demands justice, but we also offer opportunity. Those races who stand with us now will find Earth a loyal and valuable ally in the future." The Terathi councillor, Nathlar, stood. "The Terathi Confederation had no knowledge of the planned attack on human colonies. We stand with Earth in demanding accountability." One by one, smaller council races began to declare their support. Species that had long chafed under Xorlian dominance saw an opportunity for change. The balance of power visibly shifted in the chamber as alliances realigned. Meanwhile, Earth forces under Commander Hernandez's direction conducted precise military operations throughout Council space. They targeted only Xorlian military installations and those of the few races who had been direct accomplices in the attack on Earth. On a mining world governed by the Vril, who had supplied weapons for the Xorlian assault, human ships appeared suddenly in orbit. Instead of attacking, they deployed small drones that hacked into communication systems and broadcast evidence of Vril leadership's complicity to their own population. Within hours, Vril civilians surrounded government buildings in protest. By day's end, the Vril Council announced it would meet Earth's demands and hold their own leaders accountable. In the council chamber, Samuel concluded his address. Earth did not seek this conflict. We came to you in peace and were met with violence. But make no mistake, we will never again be underestimated, never again be victimized. He looked directly at the Xorlian delegation. You believe humans weak because we value life, even the lives of those different from us. You mistook compassion for weakness. That was your fatal error. As the session ended, 3 more council races had abandoned their Xorlian alliances. The galactic power structure, stable for millennia, had been irrevocably altered in a single day. 1 year after Earth's dramatic confrontation at the Galactic Council, the Xorlian Empire existed only in history books. Their once mighty fleet had been systematically disabled by targeted deployments of Project Nemesis. Their colonial holdings had declared independence or aligned with Earth-friendly factions. Their homeworld, once the center of galactic power, now hosted a provisional government supervised by a coalition of species. Samuel Wright stood at the observation window of New Geneva Station, Earth's newly constructed diplomatic hub orbiting Mars. Behind him, representatives from 23 spacefaring civilizations, including 6 species that had only recently achieved interstellar travel, gathered for the signing of the Terran Accords. "It's quite a view, isn't it?" asked Dr. Eleanor Bennett, joining him at the window. The red planet below them was being transformed. Where Xorlian mining operations had once scared the surface, new human colonies took shape, built with technology that worked with the environment rather than exploiting it. "I never imagined we'd come so far so quickly," Samuel admitted. "From nearly being wiped out to reshaping galactic politics in just over a year." Eleanor smiled. "Humans are adaptable. It's our greatest strength." The chamber quieted as Admiral Garcia called the assembly to order. Unlike traditional military uniforms, she wore the new diplomatic attire of the Terran Defense Alliance. Practical but elegant, symbolizing Earth's new philosophy of prepared peace. "Distinguished representatives," Garcia began, "today we formalize a new approach to galactic relations. The Terran Accords are founded on principles that humans have struggled to implement throughout our history, but which we believe are essential for true civilization. Mutual respect, accountability, and the right of all sentient beings to live free from oppression." The first to sign was Nathlar of the Terathi, Earth's earliest ally among the council races. Following her were leaders of former Xorlian colony worlds, then representatives of the minor species who had been subjugated under the old order. On Earth itself, humanity celebrated. The returning colonists had brought knowledge of alien technologies that helped solve long-standing problems. Clean energy systems adapted from Terathi designs eliminated pollution. Medical techniques learned from the Morse extended human lifespans. In exchange, Earth shared its unique cultural contributions, art, music, literature, and philosophical concepts many alien species found fascinating. The former human colonies transformed most dramatically. Europa Base, once devastated by Xorlian attacks, now served as headquarters for the Terran Defense Fleet. Mars hosted the diplomatic corps and cultural exchange programs. Titan became the center for cross-species scientific research. Lieutenant Ryan Jackson, now Captain Jackson, led a training exercise in orbit around Jupiter. His ships contained crews from 6 different species learning to work together. The Earth approach to military operations, emphasizing teamwork, individual initiative, and adaptability, proved revolutionary to races accustomed to rigid hierarchies. Simulation complete, Ryan announced as the exercise ended. "Excellent work, especially from the Vril contingent." The crystalline beings flashed with pride. Once Earth's enemies, they had become some of the most dedicated supporters of the new order after overthrowing their corrupt leadership. Back at New Geneva Station, the signing ceremony concluded with Samuel Wright adding the final signature. The Terran Accords were now official, creating a new framework for galactic governance based on democratic principles rather than power politics. "Let today mark not the beginning of human dominance," Samuel told the assembly, "but the end of dominance as the organizing principle of galactic affairs." Earth did not fight to replace one empire with another, but to create a community of equals. As the delegates mingled after the ceremony, Nathlar approached Samuel privately. "Your species continues to surprise us," she said. "When you defeated the Xorlians, many expected you to become the new tyrants. Instead, you built something better." Samuel looked out at the stars visible through the station's dome. "We had good teachers in our own history, both those who showed us what to aspire to and those who showed us what to avoid. Humanity knows the cost of tyranny all too well to inflict it on others." On a dozen worlds across former Xorlian space, monuments were being erected, not celebrating Earth's military victory, but commemorating the beginning of what historians were already calling the Pax Tyranna, a new era of galactic peace, secured not through dominance, but through justice.